Hello everyone, and welcome to a historic moment in online gaming with the beginning of the first Choker Cup. I'm Malcolm Payne, an international master of chess, commentating here from the UK. It's my honor to have as my co-commentator Jeff Gross, a poker player of renown with over $5 million in tournament earnings. Many of you will know him from Twitch. Jeff will be offering his insights into the poker in Choker, while I'll commentate on the fast and furious chess phase of this revolutionary new game. My thanks to Chess24 for hosting, and if you want to get involved in Choker, download the app from the Apple Store or from Google Play. The first match tonight is between International Master Eric Rosen of the US and Grandmaster Simon Williams of the UK, the GingerGM. Jeff, we're all very much in learning mode tonight. What do you see as the key poker strategies that will figure in Choker?
Yeah, no, it's super interesting. There's 82 trillion moves plus to start, whereas in chess there's one. This is going to be really curious to see how people use the betting strategies, because I think a lot of times chess players may be not so familiar with the betting, and they're going to be a little stubborn on a spot where maybe they just don't have a great starting hand. They might want to fold and move to the next board. They may say, you know what, I'll figure it out. I'm going to play, and I think that's going to be where there's a pretty big edge on someone that understands this well, how they can take advantage of making a larger bet when they have a dominating holding to start. So I think this is one of the key facets of the game, which is going to be interesting to see players figure out.
Absolutely. And I was looking at a number of pieces in each pack. So there are 4 queens, 8 bishops, 8 rooks, 8 knights, and 16 pawns. And the way that the rules have been devised, and of course one of the great things is that these rules in future, we could even change them if we want to defeat the bots. We could just tinker with them a little bit, is if the cards are particularly unfavorable or particularly favorable, then the Choker app will actually amend the piece that you have. So I see that if you're lucky enough to get 2 queens, well, in your first 2 cards in the first betting round, don't get too excited because one of them becomes a pawn. That's something you don't have to face in poker. Hey, wow! I think we're in the betting phase already.
Oh, here we go. So there's already some firing going on. Now look at this, a re-raise. So here we go. You see two strong a draw of 2 rooks there, and he's putting the pressure on right now. Eric Rosen with the piece advantage at the moment.
Wow. He's folded. Simon's folded.
Yeah.
So he lost the pot. We ought to mention that they've both started with 100,000 chips. How do you lose in Choker? Well, you lose if you do not have enough money in your enough chips in your stack for the big blind. And the big blind is initially 10%. It's white who gets the big blind, black gets the small blind. So Simon took a little bit of a hit there. Right. Rook and bishop again. Oh, 2 queens. That's been downgraded to a pawn. You can see that Eric's second queen has been downgraded to a purple pawn. Whoa, was that all in? Eric is all in. You notice that there's a limit to the amount of time they've got to make a decision. There's a clock counting down there. Okay, we're going to get into chess. We're into the placement phase now. So white gets to choose a piece to place first. Now, if I'm looking at the cards, I think Eric's the only one with a queen. So they place one piece at a time. You can see the legal squares that the pieces can be placed on. They're highlighted by blue dots. The game starts with both players having a king and a pawn just in front of it, so it's always handy, obviously, to put your pawns reasonably near your king. Wow, that's interesting. I've never seen that strategy in Choker before. Simon has put a pawn on the b4 square. That is remarkable. I'm surprised he would put a pawn there. I would stick my pawns around my king to try and protect myself. Of course, neither player knows what the other one's got, which is particularly nasty. I wonder when Eric's going to show his queen. He's got a queen and 2 knights to play. Simon's deployed his bishop on the long diagonal. In chess, that's where a bishop has the most scope. That's the longest diagonal on the board. Interesting. Eric stuck a knight by his king. Knights are very handy for defending the king. Simon's put a rook on an open line, so that rook has a lot of mobility going up and down the board. So you can see Simon putting his limited forces where they can achieve the maximum. That's interesting strategy from Eric. He's put his knights around his king. He's wrapping that king up tight to create a super strong defense. Okay, there goes the second rook, also on an open file. But here comes the big bazooka. The queen. Okay, we're in the chess phase now. They've got 180 seconds each to start with in the placement phase. They're now down to 126 seconds, I can see. Eric's down to 126 seconds to make all his moves. He's got to be the big favorite here. This is a bit of a blow for Simon. A bit of a blow for Simon. Look at that. That queen is a monster. She's attacking the bishop, going down here. That bishop's vulnerable. Simon's going to have to do something about that. The queen is also coming down here. Whoops, that squiggle's gone a little crazy, but you can see the hotspot on c3. There it goes. Queen hits the rook. Rook's got to move. I don't think Simon's survival chances are great here. Materially, in chess terms, a queen is worth 9 and knights 3 and pawns 1. So that's 9, 15, 18 points against Simon's 15. It was 16, but it's now 15. It's going to be very, very difficult for Simon to survive this. One of the things about Choker is because there are fewer pieces on the board, your king is automatically much more exposed. Oh, but that's handy. Simon could chuck his rook down the end of the board. He was thinking about it, but if he does, it would be captured by the queen. So there's no point trying to play that sneaky check down there. Instead, Simon's moved his b-pawn down the board. He's hoping to promote it. First thing Eric does, of course, is he blocks it. That pawn's going nowhere. Very, very difficult position, this, for Simon. He's got to try and keep his pieces defended. If you look at his pieces, you can see that his bishop is protected by his king diagonally and his rook is protected by his bishop diagonally. But that rook on b1 that I've just spotted there, that is very vulnerable. It's vulnerable to attack. Okay, queen goes back to f6, giving check. King runs away. Looking at times now, Eric down to 87 seconds. Simon down to 85 seconds. And the pot is 18,000. This will be a big hit. I think it's going to come down to the clock. I mean, this is one thing, Jeff, that I looked at the blitz ratings of these two players, their international ratings in speed chess. Simon is somewhat stronger at speed chess than Eric, according to the official rating list, but online speed chess is a completely different beast when you don't have to hit the clock. You just got to play the mouse. Oh, that's evil. Oh, that is nasty. The queen is attacking 2 pieces. Oh dear, it's a skewer. Queen is hitting the bishop. But the queen is also hitting that rook along the long white diagonal. What a disaster. That is a problem. 2 pieces attacked here, two red dots. I don't think Simon's got any chance here. He basically just blundered last move. He had to. I highlighted that rook as being vulnerable. He needed to move that away or to protect it somehow. Now all Eric needs to do is take that bishop and just wrap this game up because the material disparity is enormous. Absolutely enormous. Oh, that is unbelievable. A family fork. What a massacre. The knight checks the king, hits the 2 rooks at the same time, lost the pot. He lost the plot. Goodness me. Well, that's a bad one. Simon's going to have to come back from that. That won't be easy. That will not be easy to come back from that. Okay, the players will now rematch. So we'll go into the next game very shortly. Jeff, in the first ever broadcast game of Choker, what did you see in the betting there? It seemed to me that Eric was bullying him.
I would love to explain what I saw, but I was completely cut out. I did not see any of it. I didn't see any of it. I just totally blacked out, but I think I'm back. I see they're chatting now, but I did not see. So what was the result?
Yeah, so Eric emerged from the betting phase with a queen. He was the only one who had a queen. Simon didn't have one, and that queen basically ran riot, as you might expect in a game of chess. And Eric won, but he actually went all in the betting phase, and Simon took him on, and so that was 18,000 in the pot that went.
How short was Simon when he decided to go? Because I did see him fold, and that's when I cut out. I saw him on the first iteration, the first go. He made a laydown, and then that was all I saw.
Yeah,
so
He just lost the big blind, I think.
Okay.
So he wasn't actually in any desperate straits. He just decided to risk effectively, I think, about a little bit more than 10% of his pot on taking that game. Simon's toasting with he's got some, looks like rosé wine that might make him play better. I don't know. It's remarkably similar actually to the color of his beard. He is known here, Jeff. I know you're not so much into chess, but Simon's known as the GingerGM for reasons which are entirely obvious now, I guess, on screen. Okay, we're into the betting phase again.
Okay, so this is so game one is gone to Eric.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, it look pretty good start. Again, looks like Eric's got the advantage on piece value. So he's looks like he is gonna. I mean, there's also some deception too, I guess, right? In certain stakes or certain point in the match, you wouldn't want to give away your hand, and you want to maybe just call. So there's that element as well.
I just wonder whether they're betraying anything, any kind of tells. I mean, Eric looks rather tenser. Simon looks extremely relaxed, particularly when he's got that glass of wine in his hand.
Yeah, and it looks like he did that kind of. He did just. It looks like he pushed up the action on sort of a bluff. Like his hand was not. Right. Were they all in? Is this an all in?
Oh, 20,000 in the pot.
So this is it. This is for it all. They're playing for it on this particular run out of cards, and we can see the immediate. I guess the average is 16. The total combination, which adds up, that's what you're looking for. And I can't tell. Can you make it out off the?
Yeah, he's got 15. Simon's got 15. Eric has got, let me see, 1, 4, 9, 12, 17. So again, Eric's emerged with a little bit more firepower. But the key thing again is, Jeff, Eric's the only one with a queen.
Right.
And because the queen has such enormous mobility in chess, because we have far fewer pieces in the opening of the game in Choker than we do in a normal game of chess, the queen is consequently much more powerful. So in the game that you didn't see, the queen just ran all over the board. I think this is going to be really difficult for Simon to hold this again. He's got a couple of rooks and a knight, and I think what he's going to have to do is just try and hold it together and just prevent a piece from dropping off like it did last time.
Yeah, I mean, as we mentioned, 82 trillion possible moves, starting moves, whereas in chess, there is one. Everyone starts with the same formation to start. So that is it just gives you an idea of how vast and how deep this game really is. So it makes like it's a little more simple and it's less intense than normal chess. It's sort of the end game of chess, if you will, but 82 trillion starting moves is that's pretty vast.
There's no such thing as opening theory in Choker.
Not yet, at least.
Bobby Fischer created his Fischer random, what we call chess 960, because you can rearrange the 32 pieces in chess in 960 different ways to start the game. Fischer created that to kill opening theory, but even now I suspect people are starting to work out a little bit of opening theory in chess 960. But Choker, no chance. You'll never be able to prepare for Choker. So interesting there that what Simon did was he put his pawn basically to block Eric's bishop. Eric's bishop was threatening to take Simon's rook all the way across that rather jagged line I've just drawn. So Simon very sensibly put his pawn in the way.
And if you were to call it between these two players, Eric Rosen, Simon Williams, who is, if you will, their rating higher? Who on the actual regular chess? Who's a
So Eric's international blitz rating is 2362, which is decent international master level, and Simon's is 2468, which is decent grandmaster level. So I think Simon's just realized that Eric's got a queen. Yeah, he's fed up with that. Look at him. He's absolutely fed up with that because he knows that he's absolutely at an enormous disadvantage. And also he's wide open. He's wide open. You can see that his pawns are not as closely aligned with his king as they could be. There are all, I would describe them as holes on the white squares. In particular, this is horrible. You can see here that the queen is threatening to come all the way down and zap the black king. Oh, that's horrible. So Eric is actually not only starting with a material advantage, he's starting with a threat. So this is going to make life very difficult.
It seems that, Simon, just is again a very, very small sample, but Simon seems pretty aggressive with his betting and just sort of going for it. He's just ready to put it all in play. This is what I'm talking about. This is where, if you talk about narrowing the gap or some skill disparity, and I think that some players that maybe think they have an advantage in chess and the actual gameplay, maybe just overlooking that the starting pieces, how important it is, and that they don't want to just jam and force it all in. I think this is something that I think we'll see over this Choker Cup, and we'll kind of get to see different styles and strategies. And I have a feeling that some over aggression is going to work against players.
Yeah, it looks like we might have seen it. We might have seen it here, although in a sense, it's certainly in the betting phase. He perhaps ought to have been more circumspect, because he's so much down in material here, Jeff, that there's no way from a chess perspective he could ever come down. He's a queen behind from the outset, and this is one of the nice things about Choker is that almost any chess player of reasonable level, even of club player standard, could beat a top grandmaster with an extra queen. So
that to me right there, I mean, that's what's so exciting. I mean, you hear chess, you hear poker, and you look at the difference. That's one of the things poker is great about. Athletes, different types of skill levels can compete, and anyone could win. I think that's one thing that's intimidating for me as a poker player in chess. I realize that someone that's better than me, there hasn't really been a way to handicap it or to make it where it's fun or not that chess isn't fun, but if I'm not going to play one of these guys, but if I actually thought I could beat one of them and there was some way to sort of bring the skill and luck gap down, that's appealing to me.
That's what Choker does. And it was funny, when the World Championship came to London in 1993, the writer Martin Amis wrote a huge piece about chess in the Times, and he said that one of the difficulties with chess, he said, is the difficulty. He said it's so hard for a weaker player to beat a grandmaster. He said, in fact, I seem to remember saying there's more chance of a monkey writing Shakespeare, is how he put it. Now it looks to me like Simon is going to get mated in short order. Yep, there's absolutely nothing he can do about it. Eric's got, how much time has Eric got? Eric's only got, is that 7 seconds I can see up there? But he should be able to do it in 7 seconds. Let's see. No, he's got 36 seconds, excuse me. He's got plenty of time. Any good player could do this in just a few seconds. Jeff, mating with a queen and a bishop is real easy. And so we'll see Eric winning this $20,000 pot right now. It just needs to rearrange. I think it's checkmate in 3 or 4 moves maximum. So 28, 27 seconds is plenty of time to do that. Check. Yeah, we'll give another check with the bishop, and that's it. You lost the plot. Yeah, that's it. Rematch again. So Eric is a big chip leader now. It looks like, judging by the way the blinds are going, actually, that Simon might have to win this particular match to stay in it.
Oh yeah, that's two games. That's 2-0. So this is best of 5. And if Eric were to win the next match, he would move on. So pressure's on Simon. There's also some advantage, sort of like a Premiership, right? The UEFA Champions League home and away matches, or having a lead, in a series of NBA Finals or NBA playoffs, where once you get a lead, it's like you can lean on people. So this is also their strategy. Once you have a lead, I think Eric, pressure's off a bit, and we see Simon take another sip there, and he knows this is win or go home. So
I think he might be pouring himself another glass there, Jeff.
Yeah.
He might need it because if he loses this first clash, then he's going to have to win. He's going to have to win 3 of the next 4. So the playoffs generally, I think in NBA it's 7, isn't it? Is that right? And hockey.
It depends. Like sometimes I think generally the first round is 5, and then they go to 7 for the next rounds to the finals. But I believe. This is 5. This is best of 5, so it's 2-0. So this is right. Next one, it would be over.
He'll lose the first. He'll lose the first clash. He'll lose the first clash and have to take the next one. Right, betting. Off we go.
Yeah, this is a big sweat for Simon. Knows that there's a pawn, not what you want to see.
And he gets a pawn.
Yeah, but even they got the same thing. So you see the small blind, big blind is 500, 1,000. We see a call, and now this is Eric has a choice to put pressure on or just check back and go to the next card. So he does check. Pawn for Eric. So pawn, and looks like some
head for the first time. Oh, he's got a queen for the first time. Simon's got a queen. Hurrah! Yeah, there we are. He's real. You can see he's really pleased about that. Come on, he said.
Yeah, so he's gonna. Wow, so it's interesting. He does bet, so it's sort of a bluff here. I guess he does have two. I mean, it's not a bad hand. He's got two. Yeah, it's how big an edge is that? So he's got the queen. It's a pretty big edge for Simon there.
It's a pretty big edge for Simon. I think Eric got upgraded because he had so many pawns. He got upgraded to a rook on one of them. That yellow rook on the right. It was originally a pawn. Wow, gosh, it looked to me like Simon almost gave it the fist pump there when he got a queen.
Yeah, no, this is a big pot too, 15K, and there's still some betting. So he is gonna. Oh, they moved it. It's in.
Queen,
They're
that's
all
helpful. Oh, he's in. Oh, another pawn. That wasn't helpful for Simon. So we're looking at 9. So Simon's well ahead, actually. That's 9, 12, 17, 19 points plays. 14. Oh, no, it's not. Oh, Eric got a queen. I didn't notice that right at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, this is when. And now you notice, Jeff, that they always place the queen last. That you keep the big bazooka for the end, and Simon's going to be absolutely fed up when Eric turns up with another queen. Absolutely fed up with it.
So this is definitely crunch time, and I think Simon is. They look intense. They look stressed a bit on this. This is fun to watch. I mean, I'm curious the strategy here for Simon. I think Eric's doesn't have as much pressure. You can see it says 2-0, and this is game number 3. So must win for Simon. Yep.
I'm very interested by the way that Simon. Very interested by this pawn on b4. I'm really interested. That's not something that I would do, because that pawn, it's almost like it's a blocking maneuver, But I don't see what it achieves. But I'm surprised. Okay, there goes the bishop. So that bishop is again beaming down the long diagonal, threatening to do some damage to the black king there with check.
Yeah, and I've noticed that the bishops do have a little more value. Is that correct? Maybe like a 3.5 equate to. I mean, slightly more than in chess.
Normally speaking, you'd say a bishop was just marginally better than knight, but in a situation with wide open spaces, which is basically every choker game, because we start with so few pieces, the bishop, I would say, is closer to 3.5, maybe 4 even, over the knight, because the knight's got to hop and hop and hop to get from one place to the other. It takes time. The bishop can majestically sweep across the diagonal. Right. Okay, there goes a rook on an open file. We can see there, black has an open file as well. Ooh, those two.
They both got
those two rooks look powerful. Both sides have a queen. That's interesting. So black just has a marginal advantage in material. He's got a rook against a very powerful bishop. It's not a huge difference in choker. In fact, it's definitely one of those differences, I would say, that where the playing strength isn't going to matter that much. Now, that queen, white's just put there, that's strange. That could, of course, because white is now threatening to take that rook on his first move. So he's setting up a threat there. Where's black going to put his queen to cover that rook, or is black going to try and... No, black... In fact, that's a threat of checkmate, Jeff. That threat there, if the queen were to whiz down and take that rook, give check to the king horizontally, that would be checkmate. This game would end instantly. So Eric needs to think carefully. There he goes. He's blocked it. He's blocked it directly. That's an excellent move, because what he's doing by placing his queen opposite Simon's queen and offering a trade, if you're material ahead, then every exchange makes you, in percentage terms, further ahead. So that was a brilliant play by Eric. Of course, Simon avoids the exchange, and he moves queen a4, giving check to the king. The king runs away. The king is surrounded by pawns. The king feels reasonably safe at the moment, and Simon has to watch the big hit on the rebound. Sorry about the jagged line, but there it goes. It'll move in a straight line, I assure you, in chess. There's a nasty threat to go down to the C1 square, giving check horizontally to the king, and then once that king starts running, it's out in the open. It could be very problematic. Ooh, who
do you like to win right now?
I'd say black is clear favorite now. Black is clear favorite in this game. That queen is just ready to start doing some damage. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. The king has to run. Now the question is, can black bring one of these rooks into the attack? Okay, pawn blocks the check. In chess, good thing to remember when you're in check is ABC: avoid, block, or capture. Queen couldn't be captured. White went for the block. Okay, queen goes to g5. Now that is pretty mean and nasty because he's threatening to give another nasty check on this g3 square. Very, very, very unsociable. You'll notice that the white queen is a bit out on its own there. It's not functioning in the game. The queen really, really needs to get back into the game.
And again, notice 20K pot, meaning all the chips for each player is in play. So there will not be another round. If Eric were to win this would end it completely.
Yep. No, this would be the end of the first clash, and Simon would be under pressure in the second. Okay, he's tried to bring the queen back. King retreats. Oh, that is evil. He's round the back. Eric's round the back. It's checkmate next move. Simon, you could resign, or you could play it out. Play it out for the choke. Oh, it's mate. Excuse me. Excuse me. Wake up, Malcolm. That bishop can't even move. So the rook cannot be captured. The rook cannot be captured. And there was no avoid. There was no block. There was no capture. Simon has just been mated, and that is written all over his face. Look at the expressions. You can tell. We can't actually hear them here in the commentary, but you don't have to hear them to know how they're feeling about it.
Yeah, that's wow. Just like that, clean sweep, 3-0.
Yeah, 3-0.
Man, and I think if anything to look at, just from a perspective of the betting, I think maybe that would be there was some aggression, over aggression in certain spots with pieces, or call it bluffs that just didn't work out. But Simon, they put the money in the middle before, and it was pretty quick. The betting was aggressive today for sure.
My first instinct is from what you say, Jeff, that perhaps you have to be just a little bit cautious in choker, if only because you can be faced with a really big disparity. I mean, a situation in chess, particularly between two, if you consider the entire rating list, between two reasonably matched players, that you're just going to have no chance. If you're...
I would just interrupt in terms of variance. I think that's a good example. If you for example, if you get heads up in a poker tournament, right, and you're playing an opponent who is very, very tough, you want to push the variance. So let's say you have your heads up for the World Series of Poker main event, right? You're down to and you're playing a pro and you're an amateur. You want to push the variance. You want to make the pot bigger pre-flop, right? You have ace jack and they have king 10. You would love to get it all in the middle, even though it's you just don't want to go post flop where you're going to get outplayed. So I think that's generally going to be what you're going to see. Someone that feels less comfortable in a format of this format. Like if I were to hop in the match, I'd want to play big all ins whenever I had any good hands, right? I just want to bet a lot of chips to try to get the money in and make the variance higher. The more you play small ball, the more you make smaller bets and play more matches. I think that works against the. That basically you want to go higher variance, bigger pots if you feel that you have less of an edge. I think that's a good starting.
Right,
in this game.
And in this situation where we've had a classic sort of beginning to the Choker Cup, because one of the things we say about Choker is the weaker chess player can beat the stronger chess player. We've actually had the lower rated player complete wipeout, 3-0.
Yes. Yeah, and very, very interesting, and that is what Choker does. It gives you it levels the playing field. It makes it some handicapping going on, and it's fun. It's fun to watch. That was definitely exciting. That was it. That was a clash. There's not going to be another round. That is it's all over 3-0. 3-0, and we'll do an interview here shortly. That was a sweep. That's a straight sweep.
Yep, absolutely straight sweep. Goodness me. Congratulations, Eric, as the winner of the first ever broadcast match in the first Choker Cup. Well, first of all, how does it feel?
It's still, I guess, sinking in. That went by really quickly.
Yes.
I think the Choker gods were kind to me in the cards I was dealt, and I'm not sure how obvious the mistakes were that Simon made, but maybe he should have played a bit more conservatively from earlier on. Yeah,
Jeff Gross felt that he was being a little aggressive in the betting, and possibly this is one of the lessons from Choker, from this first match of Choker, that given that you can be so vulnerable in the chess phase. In a sense, you're taking a bit more of a risk when you go in, or when you match a bet, because I felt that when Simon was confronted with those, well, certainly with your queen in the first few games, he didn't have one, but he realized that he was onto a hiding to nothing to an extent, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I kind of made my mind up before the match began that if I do have a queen or have like a rook and a minor to start with, then I'd be completely okay just shoving everything in,
yes,
and seeing what happens. Just because the blinds increase so quickly that you really have to take your chances when you get them.
Yeah, you can run out of chips real fast, and it seems to me also in Choker with so few pieces at the start of the board, the queen is just a monster. It's so completely different from chess, where normally, well, the first thing you teach children in chess is don't get your queen out too early, but in Choker it's like get that queen out there.
That's very true. I mean, in such an open position, especially when the king is not really safe, and there's much less shelter for the king when it's already endgame. So the queen definitely has some increased value.
There was one particular configuration of pawns that Simon put around his king, I think, in one of the games that were in a kind of a V shape, and I was just thinking, well, perhaps in comparison with normal chess, perhaps they ought to be in a straight line, because there are all these holes on the white squares, which looked extremely vulnerable. And I guess Simon only really had a reasonable chance in the chess, would you say, in the last one, when he was just what we would say in chess, the exchange down at the outset, more or less, rook for bishop?
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely the closest game in terms of the chess, but even that, it's difficult when the position is so simplified to create anything. Yeah, I still had to be careful in that final position because his bishop was strong and he had the outside passer.
That's right.
And the fact that he put the pawn on b4, it created some small worries for me that I didn't want to allow, like b5 and bishop c6. But
yes. I mean, the way the game went, though, he gave that check on a4 on the right-hand side as the viewers are looking at the screen. You just dodged your king one square away, and it looked pretty safe there. And then his queen just wasn't participating in the defense, and well, you literally got him round the back, didn't you?
That's true. Yeah, the pieces came to life very nicely with open G file, open C file. Really had to work all areas of the board.
Yeah, the time limit, I mean, how did you feel with the time? You've got 3 minutes for the placement phase and for the chess. As far as I could see, it was a little bit small on the screen, but it seemed to me that you always left yourself with at least 2 minutes to play the chess phase. Was that a deliberate strategy?
So this was, definitely another strategy going into the game, and given that there's no increments, and especially with the time starting to tick in the placement phase, you really want to make sure that you're not spending all your time trying to decide where to place your pieces. Because I think that's kind of less effective than saving your time for these potential time scrambles, especially if material is close. And that's one mistake I made kind of when I started playing Choker early on, is I would just spend so much time thinking about where to place my pieces and then not leave myself enough time to play the rest of the game. So I just tried to keep the time advantage the whole time.
Wise words from Eric Rosen, the winner of our first match in the first Choker Cup. A real lesson there. Don't spend too much time on the placement phase. Eric, congratulations. You go through to the second round, and viewers, tune in again on Thursday at the same time for the second round of matches. And of course, get involved. Download the app, available on the Apple Store or Google Play, and we look forward to seeing you all next week. Thanks very much.